This is the Marketing Minute with Eric Rhodes, author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Make More Money Selling Your Art, Proven Techniques to Turn Your Passion into Profit.
In the Art Marketing Minute, my goal is to answer your art marketing questions, and almost all the questions we ever ask come from you. Once in a while, we don't have one and we have to make one up, but very rarely. But it has happened. So I'm just being honest here. You can send your questions to me, Eric at artmarketing.com, or you can email, or you can actually, there's a way you can go to artmarketing.com/questions, and you can actually record a video. I don't think anybody's ever done that, but you could be the first, and we'd like that. My producer, Amadine, is going to read the questions, and then I'm going to answer.
Eric, the first question is from Marla Brenner from Madison, Wisconsin. What is an NFT? How might it help the future of art marketing? How might it hurt? I've been approached online from a buyer wanting to purchase an NFT of my work. Does it make sense that they may be the future of sales of original, traditionally produced art?
Well, so the NFT thing is a really interesting phenomenon. We did an article on NFTs and in one of my publications, and one of my editors had written that he thought it was a fad. And I quickly wrote him back and I said, I'm going to change that line because this is not a fad. This is something that's going to last, and it's gaining steam, and it's something we need to embrace. And truly it is really the case. Um, NFTs, a lot of confusion about it to a lot of people, and especially people who are not what I call digital natives. If you're a digital native, you're someone who grew up, everything was digital. Everything was, on your phone, on your music was digital. People like me are not digital natives. We grew up with books and records and those kinds of things. And so when you're a digital native, NFT makes a whole lot more sense than when you're not a digital native. NFT stands for a non-fungible token. And essentially, in the world of what's called blockchain, which is it's the same technology that is used for cryptocurrency, and NFT really is kind of a child of cryptocurrency. It means that no one can steal it, and that it has to be replicated. It's replicated every 9 seconds across 100 million different computers, and there's just no way anybody can steal it in theory. And so it is morphing into a lot of things. It started out as a digital, only digital. The original NFT images were something that somebody had created digitally. And when you get an NFT on that digital image, even though it may have been reproduced, millions of times, you have the NFT, means you have the original, the only one. It may be duplicated, but you have proof that it's the only one. You have NFT is essentially almost like what could I say? It's almost like um, what's the term I'm looking for? A title on a house. It's kind of like if you had a title on an image, and that title can never be stolen from you, but it can be sold. And what's wonderful about NFT that is not true typically with paintings is in the NFT world, when you set up your first NFT, you can set it up so that you always get a percentage of the sale no matter what. And you get to set the percentage. Of course, the higher you set it, it might discourage other people. And anyone who has owned the NFT in the past can also set to get a percentage. But you got to be conservative about that because, at some point somebody wants to make money on it too, and they can't because everybody else owns it. But what's nice about it is if you create an NFT and you say, okay, forever, anytime this NFT is going to be sold, I'm going to make, let's say, 5% on it. And so oftentimes NFTs, if they're making money, if they're good NFTs, they're sold 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times. And sometimes an NFT can start out for under a couple $100 and go to, we've seen stories of millions of dollars. Those are rare. It's, there are lots of NFTs out there that have never sold, that have never been successful. But the way to do it is basically you go to what's called an NFT exchange. Now, you can Google NFT exchanges. There's tons of them. There's OpenSea, there's Axie, there's CryptoPunks, there's Rarible, Super Rare. I like Rarible for some reason. I don't know why, but you've got to look and see if you see something that fits what you do, because the audiences tend to buy. Like there's an NFT uh, site that's kind of devoted to sports related things. So that's probably not a place for you. And I'm sure there's NFT exchanges devoted to, more traditional art or more modern art, et cetera. So you just have to Google them. But basically you go in there, you pay a small fee. I don't know what it is, 10, $20, and you create your NFT and you put all your registry information and you upload the image of that. And then it goes into the exchange. And if you're lucky, it will sell. And if you're really good at marketing, you'll figure out how to promote it to help it sell, giving people a link to where they can find it. So I think it's very exciting. I haven't done a lot with it personally, but I do think it's something that I will do a lot with when I just find the time. And it's not likely to be going away. There's NFT's been wounded a little bit because at the current time of this broadcast, there has been, the Bitcoin thing has had a lot of problems. There's been some fraud and so on. And so a lot of people, Bitcoin and a lot of the crypto are going down, but that doesn't mean it goes down forever. I don't give advice here. You have to figure that stuff out on your own. But I suspect that all of those things will continue to be strong because they're really appealing to a digital generation. And now you have a digital generation that has money. So they will buy NFTs. And so the big thing is, how do you tie an NFT with a traditional painting? And you can do an image of that traditional painting. NFTs can be more than an image. They can be a video, or it could be a process of creating the painting, kind of a thing. But ultimately it's the NFT that's going to sell. Now you can design things in theory so that the painting and the NFT have to sell together, but really the painting is not necessarily in the exchange. I may have that wrong, but I don't see how that's done. But maybe it can be done. We'll have to look into that. Anyway, I hope that helps. I know I probably confused everybody. I'm a little confused about some of myself. Next question, Amadi.
The next question is from Lorenzo Chavez from Parker, Colorado. What is the most effective social media platform for art marketing and art?
And sales is the question. Okay, so Lorenzo, that question, and I don't mean to insult you, but I'm gonna. All right. All right. So that question is like saying, what's the most effective magazine to advertise in? Uh, that's broad. Or what's the most effective TV network or to watch? Or, that's broad. Social media is broad. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, everything. There are broad audiences in most of these now. Typically they start out as mediums for younger people. Facebook started out as something for younger people. Once my generation started coming on, they're like, "See ya, bye bye. We don't want to be a part of you." And then they moved over to other things. They moved over to Instagram, and then we all went to Instagram, and they're like, "We're leaving. We're going to Snapchat." And TikTok and so on. So what happens is you get these bubbles, and then when the older generations come on, the kids end up going somewhere else. But they're all very broad, and each of them has its attributes. Each of them can be very effective for you in different ways. So um, it's not so much about which one is a better advertising medium. They're all really, really great advertising mediums. It's more about how are you going to use them and what is the strategy. So what I tell people is a social media is not an advertising solution. I know that sounds weird. And by the way, I can't even say the amount of money, but I will tell you that it's a very large number, very large. I spent a lot of money on social media, but and I've wasted a lot of money on social media, but I also have learned what works. But you know what? I had to go to experts. I had to find people who were, I have had several different ad agencies, some of which I still employ. And these people who spend their lives in it really know what works and what doesn't work. And the methodology and the trends change every single week because each one of these social media changes something. There's something new. When Apple changed their technology so that you couldn't be tracked and you couldn't retarget people, that just killed a lot of social media advertising. So you have to be constantly evolving and trying to learn what it is. But let's back up. The question may be, how do I make money with social media? But really the question is, how do I make money advertising? And maybe the question back that up further is just, how do I make money as an artist? And so that's the place to start. It's not necessarily about medium. It's, you could say, well, how do I make money in Fine Art Connoisseur magazine or Plein Air magazine? That's not the place to start. The place to start is, what do I want to accomplish? What are my goals? What is my budget? What percentage of my sales am I willing to give up? Now, in most businesses, now you're a business if you're selling artwork. In most businesses, depending on the nature of the business, there is an allocation towards marketing. So in the makeup business, because it's such a high margin business, it's clay, right? Colored clay. And so basically, the cost to make some makeup for some expensive company, really the biggest cost is the jar, right? The clay that's in the glob that's inside isn't very expensive. So they can spend tons of money branding and hiring movie stars and doing all this stuff to drive interest in their glob. And they're still going to make a lot of money on it. Their margins, as we say, are going to be really high. But if you are, if you're in a business where you only make 1% on what you're selling, you can't spend as much advertising. So you have to ask yourself, all right, assuming let's say it's paintings, and I've just written an article about this. It's going to get posted somewhere soon. I think it's going to be posted on the Oil Painters of America newsletter in December, but it's kind of about, how you budget this stuff. But basically the way to start is, what are your goals? What is my strategy? Once I knew my goals, if let's say I made a goal that I'm going to make $100,000 this year, and I have to, of that $100,000, if I meet that goal, I'm going to make X amount of profit, meaning after all my expenses, I'm going to put money in the bank. After my taxes, I'm going to put money in the bank. And based on that, how much of that are you willing to give up to get more business? Because really, that's what advertising is, right? It's how much am I willing to give up? And so most companies have a range between 5% and 20 or 25% for marketing, and some even higher than that, depending again, like on the margins. So you want to be thinking about, how much am I willing to give up? And here's a clue. The person, this is going to seem really obtuse, the person who spends the most money, the person who outspends their competitors, wins. And so the way I look at things is, I say, how much money am I willing to spend to get a sale? And what is the lifetime value of the person who buys? So if, let's say, you come and buy something from me one time for $10, and then over the course of the next 3 years, you spend another $60, total of $70, your lifetime value is $70, right? So I then say, okay, what am I willing to spend to get your $70? And I might say, well, I'm willing to spend 20%. It was $14. So I'll spend $14 on ads to attract you, and I'll lose money on the first sale, but that's okay because you're likely to make a second purchase. And then I'll break even on the second one and then maybe make some money on you in the future. That's kind of how it's done. That's how you think about it. So you ask yourself, based on my current track record, how many paintings do I sell a year? And let's say you sold 10 at $1,000. That's easy math. That's $10,000. how much are you willing to spend of that $10,000 to get that $10,000? Is it 1,000? Is it 500? Is it 2,000? Is it 5,000? Because the more you spend, the more people you attract, the more people you bring in, the more you have the ability to sell. But it all boils down to budget, your goals, and then developing a strategy. And the strategy then is, okay, how am I, what am I going to sell? How am I going to present myself? What's my messaging going to be? And then tactic is the very last thing you do. And social media is a tactic. Advertising is a tactic, whether you're advertising in Fine Art Connoisseur or Plein Air or somewhere else, whether you're doing social media ads, it's a tactic. You need to know all that stuff and do your homework first. The last thing you want to do, Facebook and Instagram will pop up these things that say, do you want to boost this? You had 2,300 people watch this. Do you want to boost it? Click here, spend $10, and they're going to put it out in front of a bunch of other people. That's not effective typically. It's not, and by the way, it's very expensive to do it that way. It doesn't seem like much, but there are much more effective ways to do it. And that's about getting into and knowing and understanding how social media works. It's a very effective medium when you do it right, but anything is effective when you do it right. And in this world, not everything is about social media. You think it is because you spend all your time there, but not everybody does. And not everybody's going to see you. And if you're focusing, you're saying, well, I have, 1,000 followers, I have 10,000 followers, or I have 100,000 followers. Are those followers people who are going to buy your artwork? And the answer is some are, some are not. And so, or are those 1,000 followers people who are going to go to my workshops? Some are, some are not. So what you really want to do is focus on, who am I building my audience? What is my purpose? Most of us have all of our friends. I have a lot of artist friends, but are those people who are buying paintings? Well, some artists are buying paintings. There's no question about that. A lot of them are. But you have to ask yourself, what is going to work effectively? Anyway, that's today's Art Marketing Minute.
This has been the Marketing Minute with Eric Rhodes. You can learn more at artmarketing.com.